everybody calls me Addie, and I'm 19. And something I'm excited about today is honestly just having the conversation and getting to talk. My sister did this a couple days ago, and she's the one who referred me to it. So, and she said it was so much fun. So I'm just like excited about all of it, honestly.
Wait, who is your sister?
Olivia?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I was like, I know I recognize his last name.
I know. I was like, maybe we look familiar or something. But
Oh, I love that. Okay, my very first question is if you were to give me a talent that you feel like you have that not a lot of people know about, if any at all, what would that talent or skill be?
okay, so I have two, and they're
Okay.
both pretty obsolete.
Okay.
I'm really good at frying bacon, like in a pan. So if you have like a frying pan and bacon, I'm really good at doing that.
Amazing.
So yeah, whenever we go camping as a family, I'm on bacon. And
Nice.
then I'm also really good at like untangling jewelry and like thread and stuff. So like it's not like something I use all the time, but whenever I have a friend who like can't untangle anything, I'm like, let me try it. And my mom always, before she goes on dates, she's like, Addie, like untangle this, and then I can just like loosen it up within a couple seconds.
You're
So
every
yeah,
girl's best friend. We all need that.
yeah, it's pretty
Especially me.
helpful.
I don't know how it happens. I try to keep it organized. Somehow, when I go to pick a necklace up, it's with 10 other necklaces attached to it.
Yeah, it's
It makes sense.
crazy.
But love that. Okay, moving on to kind of get to know you a little bit more.
Yeah.
If you were to give me an accomplishment or like a personal project that you have worked on or either currently working on, what would that be? And tell me why you're most proud of it.
Okay, I'd say one that I'm the most proud of is I kind of created my own business over the summer teaching swim lessons to kids. And my first job was lifeguarding, and I ended up teaching lessons at the aquatic center too. And then when I left, there was a client who reached out to me and like just asked me if I could finish lessons with her kids for that summer, and I was like, yeah, sure. The next summer, I asked her to send like a flyer out to her neighborhood friends and just see if like test the waters a little bit about that. And I wasn't expecting, I didn't really know what to expect, but I was thinking about leaving my current job and doing that full time. So the first week I did it, there weren't a lot of families there, and I was like, that's okay. And then the second week, I realized they're all very close, so they kind of sent a few out to like test me out. And
Okay.
then I ended up getting so much interest, I had to start turning people away. So that was a really cool experience, and I think I was the most proud of it because I love engaging with people, especially with kids. And when you're in the water with them, like swimming has always been like a big passion of mine. I was a competitive swimmer for a while, and then I lifeguarded. So like water's always been in my life. And then at school, I joined the rowing team, and you're on the water. So like, there's a lot that is water related in my life. And even though I never continued competitive swimming past high school, it's so fun to watch the shift in kids from like fear to enjoyment and realizing that like they're capable of doing something in the water. And there were so many kids who are so scared and like they don't believe they can do it. And so I thought it was one of my favorite accomplishments because I enjoyed doing it and I was passionate about it. And there were even a couple kids, like their parents came up to me at the end of the summer and they're like, hey, um, little Johnny or whoever. They're a couple different guys, but they're like, they've tried a bunch of sports. We've noticed they've never really found one that they liked, and they really love this, and they want to keep doing it. So, like, do you have any recommendations for teams or groups around the area? And I'm sitting there like, I'm not crying. It's just the
Oh,
water.
that's fine, you're fine. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
So like just getting to see like the next generation of kids enjoy it,
Yeah.
it's like full circle for me, and I get to enjoy it still through them and seeing them succeed through that. So that's probably my biggest accomplishment. I didn't know if I could pull it off, and even the scheduling and the coordinating with all of that was a little scary at first,
Yeah.
but overall, yeah, I did that last year and then this past summer as well. So yeah, it's nice to have my little community there.
That's so amazing. And it's so, you mentioned how like the little the little kids or like, oh, I or like the parents told you like they actually really love this. It's so nice that you started this with your own passion and then now you're kind of giving that passion to the new generations. That's such a beautiful thing, and I'm sure it taught you so much about like business and like other like aspects of like life. So that's so great, and I'm happy that it worked out so well. Um, yeah, great accomplishment. Perfect.
Thanks.
Um, okay, well, in terms of like, if someone wanted to pursue trying to do something similar, like start their own business,
Hmm.
with, you know, a passion backing it up, what would you tell them in terms of like giving a piece of advice?
Piece of advice. I would say be human. Don't try to be like super professional that you lose your humanity. I think one of the biggest things that helps me out was like creating connections with people. I used to hate calling people on the phone. I was like, that's scary. Unless I knew them, I was like, I don't want to do that. Um, but once I was on the phone with people, like obviously you have to be professional, but I think the biggest piece of advice I could give is let them know that you're normal and that um, they, especially if it has to do with children, that they would trust you with a child. So talk in a way that's personable enough to the point where they realize that, okay, this is somebody that's passionate about this, but can also translate that into maybe like a second grader's terms or kindergartners or even high schoolers. I've worked with multiple different ages, and just when it comes to creating your own business and also running with it and running the whole thing, coordinating everything, you need to make sure that you're responsible in a relatable way, and that you can it's sweet because you can take the compliments and you take the success, but you're also in charge of stuff when it doesn't go as well, and when you pivot. Like I think the cool thing about small businesses and personal businesses is that you can change the rules as you see fit to make sure you create relationships with people. So if I misscheduled something, I could give them a free lesson or like a family discount if somebody reached out to me about that, just to show that like I'm there for them instead of just to make money.
Yeah, perfect answer. Um, you mentioned earlier that you are now on like your school's rowing team. So does that mean you're in college?
Yes, so I go to the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. Go Vols.
Congratulations.
Love it. Yes, I love it. I'm a sophomore this year, and it's been so amazing. I walked onto the university rowing team last year when I was a freshman, and craziest experience ever. I didn't know what to expect. I've never rowed before. I'd never touched an oar before, and one of the coaches was out recruiting, and he was like, "You look tall and athletic. Do you want to row?" And I was
That's
like, I don't know how to do that. I was like, do you have a club team? He's like, don't join them. We'll teach you. And I was like,
okay.
what? I was like, what is this?
No.
So, yeah, and faith is always also a big part of my life. And I just felt like the Lord was showing me, like, I really want you to try this out. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
One of the hardest things I've ever done. One of the most rewarding and beautiful things I've ever done. And I just saw how God grew me so much through it. I ended up getting cut in October this past year. So that's also been a really hard experience because I wasn't expecting that, and I was doing really well compared to the team holistically.
Yeah.
So that one was out of left field, but yeah, it was such an amazing experience that taught me a lot about myself, a lot about worthiness and consistency, and yeah, I think like showing up for a team, it's a huge team sport. You don't realize like if you are out of sync with the people in your boat, you're not going anywhere. So it taught me a lot about relational dynamics with people on my team, and even like it translated into my classes with my friends and my professors.
Yeah.
But overall, it taught me a lot about myself
Yeah.
and showing up for myself. So that was a beautiful experience, and I have a passion for rowing now, even though I'm not on the team anymore. Like I think I'll be pursuing that in some sort of way
Yeah.
within the future.
Yeah. I'm religious, I'm Catholic. So you mentioned being cut. I always tell myself like God presents you lessons, and if you
Mm.
keep getting the same lesson in your life over and over again, it's his way of telling you that you haven't fully grasped what he's trying to say.
Mm.
So you just mentioned that like you learned a lot about yourself. You learned a lot about like how to like be a team player, a team member. So it's like you learned that lesson. He showed you that you are now done.
Yeah.
So like, that's kind of like my perspective on it. So you don't feel bad that you were cut. Everything happens for a reason.
I 100% believe that.
Yeah.
Some of my friends think I'm crazy. They're like, okay, most things happen. I'm like, no, it all happens for a
It all
reason.
happens for a reason.
Yeah, so
100%.
definitely. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no. Sorry. What are you studying currently? Because my next question kind of like ties into education.
Yeah, so I'm a neuroscience major
Oh,
currently. I was bio and I switched last semester, so it's very fresh, but I'm excited about it.
are we trying to go into the medical field or?
Yes.
Okay, amazing. So, obviously, you're studying something very rigorous. If you were to tell me what your own definition of education is, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say education is based off of passion, and it's taking steps to learn more about a passion.
Okay, I love it.
So like, yeah, I guess you can learn things, you can memorize things, but I think what's uh, what distinguishes like just memorizing and learning things from like actually getting an education is an education as purpose,
Yeah,
which can be driven by a specific calling or passion.
perfect. Um, if you were to kind of wish for a subject or a topic or skill to be taught in a majority of schools, what would it be?
I wish I learned about taxes.
Okay.
I think like just having a tax class would be really helpful because I know that like I it's just always freaked me out and I never learned when I was in the house. So that's something that like if there was some sort of class that could actually like be like, "Hi, this let's talk about this in very beginner's terms." I would really appreciate that because it's turned into me walking around feeling like I have to pretend I know what I'm doing because everybody already knows, and I'm like, when did you learn this? So
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm 24 and I still have no idea what taxes
yeah,
mean.
I'm like,
My taxes came in the mail the other day,
yeah,
and my dad looked at it, and then he looked at me and was like, "I'm just gonna take this for you because I know you're."
yeah,
I'm like, "Right, all right,
yeah. My parents are great, and I know that they, cheer me on to help me out with that stuff.
yeah,
But that's one way where I've always felt a little ill prepared.
yeah." Yeah, we all have. I would have loved a financial literacy class in high school,
Yeah.
but maybe like four of them because I
I
don't
feel
think
like the IRS is just gonna show up at my door one day, and I'm gonna be like,
I owe like $1 and I'm going to jail. I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry."
like, do you want a cup of coffee? Like, ah.
Oh my God, I love it. Okay, switching gears a little bit.
Yeah.
If you want to, you don't have to be too like detailed if you don't want to. But tell me about someone who you feel like has really left an impact on your life and why.
I would say my roommate has left a big impact on me. So
Okay.
we are still roommates after freshman year. Most people, like switch after the first semester. They're like, they don't get along very well. She was literally a godsend. So I knew her when I was like in middle school. And the funny thing, we laugh about it now. I really didn't like her in middle school. I thought she was really annoying and like pushy, and I didn't enjoy her very much. Yeah. And then when I was trying to figure out if I was going to Tennessee or not, the last thing I was praying about was like, Lord, you need to provide me somebody that I know on campus and also somebody to room with. Or make it very clear you want me to go in blind.
Right.
And then I was like, that's my last reservation. And then the next day, she texted on like this dead group chat we had for like years, pretty much telling everybody on the group that she had confirmed for Tennessee. And in that moment, I was like, I felt so much peace and excitement. And then I was like, I didn't mean her. I meant somebody else.
You're like, wait, but God, no.
I was like, hang on a
I
second.
take it back.
I said whoever, but I also meant like somebody that I don't know. That's just not what I was expecting. And so we reconnected, and she's grown up a lot since middle school, and so have I. We're both kind of embarrassed that we knew each other then. But she is like amazing. She's a poli-sci major, and she feels very called to go into politics in government. And I am independent, and I have like different beliefs, but I'm pretty central. And I just have found myself writing off that whole field as like hopeless, because I see how much polarization there is. I see how much corruption and all these different things. And I've always been so disgusted by it and hurt by it, and just been like, I don't even want to like go there. Like, nobody could reach there. Nobody could touch there. And the Lord's been very, very clear to me through my roommate and inspired me through her to show like, hey, I'm everywhere. And to see her and her journey. She was on a campaign last semester before elections and everything. And she was doing the heavy work. She was grassroots, knocking on doors, making phone calls, doing all this stuff. And she has these big aspirations, and I just saw her start from the bottom, and within the course of a month maybe, her candidate won. She got offered like a congressional internship this summer in DC, so she's going to be going there. She got flown out to her congresswoman's swearing in, and one of the campaign managers like acknowledged her, and like it's just been so cool to see the way she's been so faithful. She hasn't compromised who she is, and she's just given it her all, and like that's been blessed, and she's getting where she needs to go. Like doors are just opening for her. So I love seeing that for her. I love cheering her on, and at the same time it really inspires me to not write things off as unreachable, because the Lord's at work everywhere, and you can't just because my skill set doesn't match a group of people or like a specific field doesn't mean that it can't be reached by someone else. And that's what makes the body of Christ so beautiful, is that we all have different skill sets and stuff. So it's also nice just to realize I tend to take the responsibility of everything on myself, even when it's not my job. So it's also really relieving to realize, like, okay, this is totally not my jam, but I'm so glad I know some homies who can go over there and like kick it. Yeah, they can take care of those ones.
Yeah. I love it. No, I'm also the same way when it comes to politics. I'm just like, don't talk to me. Like, I don't want to know. I don't want to care. Like,
I'm like, can't we just get coffee? I just want to know about you. Yeah. Like, I'm much more of an individual like person. Yeah. So.
Do you feel like there's been any challenges that you have had to work through that kind of shaped you in a way?
Yes, absolutely. So I grew up in a military family. I'm like, I feel like maybe my sister's kind of gotten into this, or maybe not. I don't know if it's better, but yeah. So I grew up in a military family, moved a lot. That was obviously challenging, but also really fun. But I'd say the past couple of years have been really difficult because my dad stopped deploying. We're all present stateside. We're not moving. Everything's dying down, career-wise. And at the same time, there's been a lot of stuff domestically that's come up. And I've kind of been on this journey of like healing and exploration and unpacking like some traumatic things I experienced as a kid. So that has not been always fun, because I think before you can heal from something, you have to acknowledge it exists. So there have been a lot of moments and a lot of really crazy just experiences the past couple of years where I've been woken up to some things that went on when I was a child that I wasn't aware of, that aren't healthy and are actually really really not good. And just had to stare it square in the face and grieve it, and grieve the fact that it happened. So that's probably been a big challenge that's shaped me, is realizing that like domestic violence happened within my house when I was growing up. And around when I was probably 12 or 13, which was also a really critical age. And for a long time into high school, that really shaped how I operated. Being the oldest of four, I felt like I had to be the buffer between the tension between my parents and my siblings. And at the same time, with some more personal experiences that I had specifically with my dad, I like lost a lot of confidence in myself, and I didn't know why I was worthy of being loved. So I always, without realizing any of this, I was like doing to be worthy enough for love, and I was never able to receive it. Even when I knew people believed in me and knew that they loved me, there was just a disconnect. So I've started to become a lot more connected with myself and healthy. I have this saying, and I laugh, but I believe it's true. I say cool people go to therapy because I think we need to destigmatize that a little bit. Yeah. But yeah, it's also been really cool because as there's been more unpacking, and that's really healing is a very painful process, and it's very messy. It's not, linear. It's not point A to point B. But it's also made me realize that I'm becoming who I'm wanting to be, and I'm so much more free than I was a couple years ago, and I'm so thankful for that.
Of course. Okay, my final question before I kind of give you the space to talk about what you want to share, or if you want to, you don't have to. But my last question is, um, if you were to kind of give a piece of advice to anyone who has gone through similar challenges that you have, or is just trying to make their way into the world, or if you wish that you could have gotten this piece of advice when you were younger, what would it be?
I wish I got a piece of advice kind of saying, like, you are not what you've experienced, so don't take that on yourself. And also, like, there are so many different facets of beauty, so don't get caught up if you're different than somebody, like personality wise, physically, anything like that. Like, my mom has a saying about, like, a bouquet and how we're all created differently, and bouquets are so much more beautiful, so much more expensive when there are different flowers in it, and they all complement each other, versus a bouquet just of one types of flower. And like that's humanity. That's the beauty and the gift of the people around us. So I also just give that piece of advice of, like, you don't always have to feel great about your insecurities. That's why they're called insecurities. But just trust the process and realize that, like, you were made that way specifically for a purpose. And being unique is a beautiful thing, not necessarily just a lonely thing. When it can feel lonely sometimes, it's actually really good because you stand out for a reason.
I love it. I absolutely love that. Okay, I kind of want to give you the floor to kind of talk about whatever you want to share in terms of like adding to your application,
Okay.
or if you want to emphasize on a certain point that you made earlier that you want to, bring up again. But this is kind of open forum for you.
So this is like a little story that has really encouraged me, and I want to share with you as well. So right after I got cut, there were a lot of emotions, but I was also in denial. One of the stages of grief, I was just like,
Right.
what is going on? Very disoriented. And I went on a hike because I live in the Smoky Mountains. I had never been on a hike before, and I was like, well, I have 20 hours more time a week, so I'm gonna go on a hike, I guess. And so I went with one of my friends, Matthew, and we got up at like 6 a.m, went to this big mountain. It's called Mount LeConte. It's the highest peak in Tennessee. And he kept pointing it out on the way there, and I was like, I guess this guy has a thing about this mountain or something. Like, I had no idea why I kept mentioning it, because I was like, we're doing this other trail that's like 6 or 7 miles.
Yeah.
So we'll be home by lunch. It'll be great. We can have a big lunch. We didn't pack that much food, but it'll work out.
Yeah.
We're on this hike. We're also not, we're dilly-dallying, taking our time, because we're like, it's 6 miles. Yeah. No big deal.
Why not?
So about 3.5 miles in, where we should be turning around, we reached this waterfalls, and it was beautiful. We're enjoying it. And then I look up, and I'm like, we're not close. Like, what do you... And then he mentioned the mountain again, and we were doing that trail. Oh. And so we both had this moment of like, oh, crap. Like, what are we doing? And so, long story short, the mountain ended up being 9 miles to the top. And I also wanted to go to kind of reset and have like a nice experience. So I was like, we are going to that top. We are going to the outlook. It's happening. Yes. And it was really pretty. But at the same time, I just didn't feel... I don't know. I didn't feel at peace. I didn't feel like the sense of relief and like rest that I was expecting. Because I was mad that it took so long to get there in the first place. I at this point, it's like 3 p.m. We didn't have any food. We ended up both passing out at the top, actually. I took a nap because we were so tired. And we went back down a little bit. There's a lodge with food, and we were like, oh, we'll just, we finally have food. They closed for the night, and we were like, oh. So, yeah, we had like 30 minutes back down the hill of silence because we were both so angry. And he's a photographer. He kept stopping to take pictures, and I was like, we need to go. The sun is going to set. Yeah. The sun set. It was happening. Like, there's nothing we could do about it. Yeah. And as the sun was setting, we kind of came to this little outlook on the way down, and there were these huge rocks. And Matthew was like, hey, I'm sorry, I really have to take a picture of this. I need to go get up on that rock and take a picture. And I was like, okay. Like, oh. And he's like, Addie, you need to come up here. This is so pretty. And I'm like, I can see it from down here. Yeah, it's pretty. He's like, no, you don't understand. So at that point, I kind of accepted defeat that we were going to be walking home in the dark and having to stumble the last 3.5 miles down this trail in complete darkness. So I was like, fine. I went up on this rock and I looked out, and then I had my sense of peace, and I just had that stillness in my heart, and it was the most beautiful sunset I had ever seen. You just see the sun going down over these mountains that are like this deep blue. The sky was pink. You see like nothingness over here, and then Gatlinburg and a bunch of lights and cars over here, and it was just an incredible view. And I felt so quiet and so still, and then I felt like I heard God tell me, the most beautiful views are on detours. And that brought me so much peace and so much joy, because what he was telling me through that is like, yeah, you don't know what's going on right now, but I have a really beautiful view coming that you wouldn't have had if you had things your way. Yeah. And so the rest of the way down, I wasn't frustrated anymore because I realized that like I got to see what I wanted to see, obviously. And I was expectant for some type of restoration, I guess, in my spirit. And it didn't happen where I was expecting it. Obviously, you expect that to happen at the top. That's what happens in the Hollywood movies. And you're like, so I'm sitting there like,
when is it coming?
Shouldn't I be emotional right now? And then that didn't happen. But in the weirdest way, it made the view that I saw on the way down so much more beautiful because I wasn't expecting it when it happened. And it was far past any of my expectations. So that is something I have held dear to my heart, like the past couple of months, is just realizing that I'm in the process of going somewhere, and I'm really excited to see where I'm going because God definitely shut the door on rowing. That was a big part of my life for a long time. But I believe he shut the door so he could open another one down the road, and I'm really excited to see where that leads. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to share, I guess.
I love it. I genuinely got chills when you mentioned the detour part, because I'm a big believer of God laughs when you make plans.
Yes. Yeah.
And that was a prime example of that, and I absolutely love that you got to experience that firsthand. And it just brings me so much joy when people talk about God because it's my favorite thing, and it's a big part of
me too.
Yeah, it's the best thing. And so I've had the best time talking to you and learning about your life, and I know that you will go so far. And hopefully one day when I'm old and gray, you're my doctor.
Yes, yeah, like that'd be great.
Well, do you have anything else you want to share, Addie?
I don't think so. I just thank you so much for this opportunity and the time. I really appreciate it.
Hey YouTube, if you enjoyed this person's story, don't forget to subscribe below to hear more from our inspiring youth. If you want to apply for our Storyteller Scholarship or get more involved in our organization, click the link below to apply. Thanks for watching!